Hi everyone. Ni hao, bonjour to everyone in the online world. Perhaps we have been discussing on a lot of topics. Today I will be walking you through. I'm just working on a live project right now, so was drafting opinion around understanding the trade protocols and particularly the standpoint of the Madrid protocol. That's very important to be understood. At the outset, I'll just wait for a minute or so and then we'll restart. If you have any questions, put your questions in the comment box and we will see if we can respond. Otherwise, it will be this way itself, whereby I'll be talking about the strategy of if, when, not if. One is how it can be utilized for smart contracts and smart contracts from the standpoint view of trade protocols. Maybe we will look into some of the tagging processes. We already discussed the tagging process for miscellaneous 99 and a lot of numbers are being discussed here and there. So even before we log on to the other aspects, let's talk about the understanding of the internet and particularly the information which is being discussed without even understanding the nuances as to the regulations which are very important for any internet-based enterprise. Because even if you have an internet-based enterprise company, whatsoever it is, whether it's proprietorship, it doesn't matter in terms of what is the input data which you're providing. And that input data has to be strong enough to take care of the regulations. It is sad to see that most of the internet-based businesses, even in the year 2025, I mean, come on, how internet used to behave in the year 1997, 1998. I don't know how many of you were on the internet logged on for a couple of hours or so, and how many of you really played Tombola in those days. I remember playing Tombola almost for that one particular game where the Batman is here. I'm not sure which Batman are you talking about. Do I take tuitions? We're not changing the topic. We have to discuss what I'm discussing right now. I was discussing about internet. Okay, let me just get back to that aspect and then we'll discuss about this. Just give me a moment. I'll log on to the other device also so that I don't miss out on the chat. And why will I take tuitions? I am a blockchain block creator. It depends. I mean, one has a free will, right? And according to the free will, it depends. Okay. What are we discussing? We are discussing the too many questions. Let me just gather my thoughts. Okay. So we are discussing Madrid protocol. The discussion is around Madrid protocol. I'll just write it down before I get more questions bombarded. Okay, let's not compare. This is just a discussion about the topic of trade. I am a person who is working in IPR for the longest time of my life. Before that, I have been on internet doing a couple of things, being a very early entrant on the internet. And what I was talking about was the classification, which is important from the standpoint view of the protection for the trade aspects. and that particular class is uh, class 35. So I will request people in the chat just to have this discussion around the topic, which is the trade, which is the business aspect. That's it. I'm not here to discuss about anything else. So the discussion is around class 35 and the regulations. Okay. Now, particularly when most of the folks don't understand the trade aspect, and particularly from the standpoint view of making the business big in the long run, there are a few steps which are very important for any business entity whenever they're coming online, serving the customers, or rather I say they are candidates. And these candidates themselves, I have to take this call. Okay, so perhaps what is important here is most of the folks don't understand the aspect of the regulations, which is very important from the standpoint view of creating something in the smart contracts. So since this data would be online, folks can utilize it to create smart contract protocols. I don't use, particularly if you ask me about my GitHubs and everything, it's very cryptic, although there are a few which are with my names and all, but I use multiple GitHubs to create smart contracts at any given point of time. So the statement here is to understand the regulations in terms of class 35, particularly from the standpoint view of understanding whatever you're doing, and if you're using internet for any purpose, whether it's good or services or is a bundle of the service and the good, and you want to create that impact in terms of creating a factual evidence. Factual evidence can also be known as exhibit. It is important to secure stuff if you're looking at the global stuff, which is under Madrid protocol, and it comes at a price. It's not cheap. If we just did one for one of our clients recently, and in that particular thing was, I think, around only the government fees which we covered, which included UAE for that matter. The government cost itself was fiat currency or USDT, I would say around 10,000 USDT. So somebody talked about someone who is famous enough for the music industry. So she herself has changed the landscape in terms of the understanding of how whatever you're creating, and if it is protected in a meaningful manner, it can be a game changer for the creator, herself, himself, or whatever the pronoun is all about in today's DNA. So that was one thing, but I'm done with the class 35. I just wanted to give a brief understanding of that. So if I have to talk about this particular singer, in terms of the business she has created over the years, which is fantastic because first thing what she was able to do is, or what others can do who are in that industry, serving a large mass of folks globally, is if people are able to relate with you in the online and the offline world, you need to take a step back and understand the legality around the creation of music, because music itself has a lot of I would say, protocols. There are different protocols. There are zillion intellectual property rights around music, around graffiti, around art. Art itself has a lot of bifurcations in terms of the understanding. Now, what is important here is to understand what she has done right, given the data that what she has done right is working for her. But that doesn't mean that it is going to work for anyone and everyone. It is working for her because she already had connected with the audience in a large way. And it is more important to strike the chord when you know the time is right. If the timing is not right, even if you create everything and if you don't have your candidates to hear that out, because now if you see in the online and in the offline world, because of so many platforms which are available through the app model or the applications, it is very easy to understand that this can be done. However, it's not that if you copy something 100% is going to work. There are businesses which are copied, but now those companies are getting after these companies and getting into the licensing and the royalty deals, which works out. So as far as the music piece is concerned, in this particular case, whatever the discussion was there on the chat, I'll just talk about this person. What she has done is now every intellectual property right which is surrounding her in terms of the music piece, that is the whatever is written, then there's something, somebody is giving tune to that music, so that is lyrics. And then you have the performance, how well the, now I call everybody candidate because that's how I'm coding everything, but if I just go by the large data set which exists today, let's take that person as an artist. And as an artist, it is important to understand that the artist has to be connected to that kind of stakeholdership model so that that works. And that is what is working for her in the given scheme of things. Because you can be a great, or I would rather say, the third candidate or the third person candidate or the third party, whosoever, he, she, whatever the pronoun is being utilized, or it's a brand altogether. It might work. It depends on a lot of factors. However, it is important to understand and support this kind of model, because then the mediators, so mediators are the parties, stakeholders, companies, enterprises who are mediators to, or a medium through which maybe two companies are working out together. So that model is not going to work. Particularly why it is not going to work, it is because this is a new world order after 1st of April 2020. So that doesn't work, because if somebody is talking about blockchain and we're talking about, so blockchain, one use case study is definitely Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. There are other use case studies, and for the core understanding of the blockchain, just to give a quick sneak peek into this, it would be, so I'm trying to make it simple, I don't want to sound legal here. So the communication has to happen between the node. So, because I myself, I'm a lexicographer of a sort who has drafted zillion applications around the peer-to-peer stuff, and this is not done in last 1 decade, it's more than a decade now. That being said, it is important to understand if a part of the use case study of Web 3.0 is blockchain, in terms of possibility, it would be, the trust is one of the pivotal stuff. The trust, respect, the communication between the nodes has to be real time, and there shouldn't be a third party involved in the communication protocol. And that's how you are able to create different use case studies around the generative technologies, whether we talk about a part of it is 5G also, perhaps 5G, 6G, 7G, 8G, and zillion other things, and that will be very dependent on the data. And data, in reality, irrespective whatever the other stakeholders are talking about, data is data. And the other most important thing is the input data has to be 100% correct for that to be orchestrated for the world to see. I believe I made some sense in this discussion. So I discussed upon, touch base on a couple of topics, but the main intention was to talk about class 35, which is to be understood from the matter of fact for smart contracts, because that is one of the pivotal clauses or classification to be understood for the orchestration of any of the webs, web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, even if I talk about so there's something called as industry 4.0. So I'm not getting into that discussion, but this is how it has to be. Thank you for watching this out. Have a great week ahead.